and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And no man might buy or sell, saving he has the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. So, to survive, you will need to have this mark of the beast. It will be used in qualifying you to buy or to sell. No one can buy or sell without this mark. A lot of speculation as to what the mark of the beast is. There are those who talk about this little chip that they're creating that can be inserted under the skin that has all kinds of information about you and can be used to keep an account of your funds. It would seem that a person not being able to buy or sell without the mark would perhaps indicate some method of payment that will be developed. And of course, we do see a lot of these things being developed today where people are beginning to buy and sell without money, using a card with the codes on it and so forth. And most of us do use credit cards today. And there are those that see these as a precursor to this mark of the beast. And someone has said, well, if they create this cashless, checkless society that they're talking about, where you buy and sell with a mark, would you take that mark? Well, first of all, I don't intend to be here. And so that's not something that I'm worried about. But if I were, I wouldn't take it because we do read in the next chapter, chapter 14, which we'll get next week, or week after next. Next week will be Greg Laurie and the crusade. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worships the beast or his image, or receives his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, or whosoever receives the mark of his name. So again, don't take it if you're here. So no man can buy or sell unless he has this mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. It seems like there is a significance in numbers. We know that the number 7 is the number of completion. 7 days in a week. The 8th day is the first day of the next week. 7 notes on the scale and in the octave. And we know that 7 is a number that signifies perfection or completion. And thus, the number 7 is used as a number for God, the completeness of God. The number 8 is the number of new beginning. As we said, 7 making the complete, 8 would be the beginning of a new kind of sequence. And it is interesting that in a lot of different languages that they use not a numeric system for counting, but they use their alphabets. So in Greek, alpha, beta, gamma, delta is also 1, 2, 3, 4. Each letter has a numeric equivalent. In the Hebrew, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, you have, again, the 1, 2, 3, 4. Each letter has a numeric equivalent. And so they have done some interesting kinds of studies, especially using computers, to find interesting patterns in these numbers. When you take the names of Christ, and if you will total up the numeric equivalent of all of the letters in the name for Christ, Jesus, Christos, and so forth, they are always divisible by 8. Jesus, the number of new beginning. He becomes a new beginning for so many. As, you know, we just rejoice in that new life that we have in him. 6 is incomplete. It's one short of the completion, 7. And 6 in the Bible is the number of man. And so here we have a trinity of 6s. It's the number of his name. Now, this has caused a lot of people throughout history to, when a fellow comes on the scene that looks suspicious, they take his name and they begin to figure out the numeric equivalent to see if it comes to 666. And have to confess that we don't know at the present time. It could be that it will be known in the future, but we really don't know. Some have suggested, inasmuch as the Antichrist seems to come out of the abuso. In the 17th chapter, we'll get to that as we move on. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the abuso. There are 7 kings that have reigned or ruled in Rome. 5 are fallen, 1 now is, the other will come and he will reign for a short while. And there are many who do believe, the early church seemed to believe, that Caesar Nero, who was an insane madman in his attempt to destroy the church, was the Antichrist, and that he will come out of the abuso and will be empowered by Satan, as he seemed to be possessed by Satan when he was here on earth. We'll get to that when we get to the 17th chapter, and we'll deal a little bit more with that. But it is interesting that the numeric equivalent, or the numeric counting up the letters of Caesar Nero, does total out to 666, so 666. But that, don't know, surely that's not anything that we can put down and say, well, whoa, you know, here it is. We just don't know for certain. But here is wisdom, and let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. It's the number of a man, and the number is 666. So that's all we know. More than that is only speculation, and of course speculation is just that, speculation, and it's worthless, as trying to teach fact